Kibby, what are we going to talk about now with our football team done?
I know. Well, still we could talk about
guys,
some
we can
football.
talk about my.
Yeah, yours is done too.
Done too, Moosey.
Man, your Super Bowl run was another standard year for the Vikings.
100%.
Short and sweet. How about that, huh?
Well, I tell you what, I feel like I should go up and sit at the sports book up at Turtle Lake and find that nice, fine gentleman that predicted this.
Yeah, he saved you money.
That's probably why he hangs out in the sports book. The guy probably makes $300,000 a year. He absolutely called this. I couldn't believe it.
Well,
I'm like, you're crazy. First of all, I thought they were going to beat the Lions. So I was obviously convinced why I threw some money on it. And then when he said they're going to exit in the first round, and how long did I try to make that bet for the Vikings to win the NFC? I bet I spent a good half hour trying to figure it out why these machines. I went to like 4 different machines, and I thought they were all broken.
Because they all knew it probably wasn't going to work.
I don't know. That should have been a sign, I guess.
Well, I would just think the sign, the thought that you were going to bet on the Vikings to win anything should have been the sign that you are going mental or you need help. And that guy obviously felt like you were going mental and you needed help. I mean, seriously.
He was trying.
He saved me $70, $75.
Yeah, but this is the point, though. You don't get it. Bet with your brain, not your heart. Well, that guy tried to help you, and luckily, I mean, even though we like to say he did help you, at the end of the day, the machine being not allowing you to bet helped you, but you weren't going to listen to that fine gentleman either way. You were convinced they were going to beat the Lions, win, and go to the Super Bowl. My gosh.
Well,
have you not been around your Viking fans long enough to know that they're going to fail every time?
Well, Moosey, don't you think eventually, though, this curse or whatever,
right?
It's got to stop. I mean, it has to stop.
I mean, look at the Red Sox.
Right,
we're gonna
the Bambino or whatever they had, the curse of the goat or whatever it was.
The curse of the goat.
I don't know, Moosey. What do you think, man? I mean, it's just it was
you get
disappointing.
used to it. It's Minnesota sports. Like the only bright spot in Minnesota sports would be when the Twins won it in 87 and 91?
91.
91. So it's like, hey, we got that. And I remember that as a kid. But other than that, you don't. It's
what I kind of like.
You just live the life.
Now, I don't think any standard Packer fan was going around and saying we had a chance to win the Super Bowl. I thought, if we get hot like we were playing for a little bit, we could make a run. And at the end of the day, you never know, right? But it did not shock me that they lost. Yes, I predicted them to win because I'm a homer.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the way they played against the Bears and even the way they kind of ended the season, it didn't surprise me. But now on top of it all, what's funny to me is every Viking fan I talk to, I swear at work, is like, I figured this was going to happen.
No, calm down.
No, I'm telling you, I figured this was happening. And I'm like, really? Boy, just 3 weeks ago, man, you guys are going to the Super Bowl. Number 1 seed, best quarter. I mean, you had everything going for you.
Yeah, but their wins were just.
I know their wins
all
were.
The other ones were like.
But I told people that, but nobody would listen. They said, they were the best. You even had a clown like Gibby, diehard Packer fan.
I'm a diehard football fan.
Oh, now you're not a Packer fan?
I am a Packer fan. They're my number 1 team. There's no doubt about it. But I like I said, I love football more than I love a team. So which is why I'm okay with going for other teams. I'm okay with that. I appreciate talent. I appreciate those types of things. But I tell you what, again, shout out to Gibby's Lanes hosting us there for the Packer game. That was a blast, even though they didn't play very well, especially the way that game started out. But we had a good time. But, man, that was a tough one. That was tough
one. It was ugly.
Yeah, it was. But, so jumping around, the thing about it is, I tell you what, if you want to know if the phrase, what have you done for me lately, exists, just be a football fan once your team exits the playoffs. And all of a sudden it's like, Jordan Love is no good. Sam Darnold's terrible. So let's just pump the brakes a little bit. And I wouldn't mind going over some stats, okay? Because, some of us like to go with our feelings, which I can understand that, but feelings they are what they are. But sometimes you just got to take a look back and look at the stats, Scribby. So let's start with our boy, okay? Let's start with our boy, and like we always love to say, we're going to give a few vital system stats of the week. So we're going to actually dive into their stats. So it's more than just one stat. Let's take a look at Jordan Love. Okay, Jordan Love right now, overall, okay, and all the rankings, at least the ones I'm looking at here on ESPN, he ranked 19th overall with all the quarterbacks. Now, did he have a terrible season with 3,389 yards, 25 touchdowns, 11 interceptions? No, I don't think that's a horrible year. I think, Scrib, what people are struggling with is he got paid. And I think that's what they're struggling with.
Yeah, I mean, you think about 25 and 11, and everybody's basically saying, man, we overpaid him. Well, what about a guy with 3,900 yards? So 600 yards more. One more game, though. 26 touchdowns and 11. Is he overpaid then?
I don't know. That's what we're talking about here.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm asking, though. So if you're saying Jordan Love with 15 games, 25 and 11 is overpaid, would you add a guy that's got 600 more yards another game, only one more touchdown? Is he overpaid then?
Who is this?
I don't know.
Who's this back pocket guy you got? Scribby's got something here. He's boiling up.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just asking.
The stats guy coming
I
in
would
hot.
say, is he getting paid the same amount of money?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay. Then, yeah, he probably could be overpaid.
I mean,
well, it depends. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess, yeah, what's your threshold? What are you judging it on?
well, I'm just asking that. You know, you compare some stats at times, and when you want to look at stats, you bring up another gentleman. Well, that guy has a few Super Bowls underneath his belt, and nobody's talking about Patrick Mahomes being overpaid right now. Mahomes has 26 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 600 more yards. So,
but overall, statistically, he's 7th. When you look at all of the stats.
Yep, but those are just some things. And what's interesting about that's on yours, the one I'm looking at. But the thing here is his rating is 93.5. Jordan Love is 96.7. So, again, it depends on what you want to rate at.
Right. A lot of it has to do with yards, I think, in this particular one.
Are you looking at CBS?
No, NFL.
Well, I'm looking at CBS, and if you go by ratings, then Love is higher, he's lower. But again, you can look at every different stat you want and whatever. It's at the end of the day, you can find a stat that somebody ranks better. But what I like to look at is just the overall game, yards, touchdowns, interceptions. Pretty comparable stats. Now, the one thing interesting about Patrick Mahomes there, think about how many games they won at the end of the game. They won a lot, where they had to go down and make a drive and win. So if they didn't, let's say they lost 2 or 3 of those, would they be saying, hey, what's up with Patrick Mahomes? That's my point. I mean, I think.
Well, and I think they have. I think the thing about Patrick Mahomes is I think there's no doubt when his career is over, he'll be in the same sentence as a Tom Brady. I don't think there's any doubt about that. The thing about Patrick Mahomes that I've always felt is so unique about him is that he knows how to win ugly. There's times where he's not real flashy, and he's out there, and they kind of pull out a victory that you didn't think that he was going to do. But when he's out there, he has this confidence about him that I think everybody else around him gains as well, right? And so his team knows, hey, we're down by 6. As long as Patrick Mahomes has the ball, we got a chance to win this thing. Very similar to that of Tom Brady. I think right now with the Jordan Love and there's 6 minutes left to go in the game, we're like, oh, hell, what's going to happen, right? Maybe a little bit same as the Sam Darnold, especially here in the last 2 games. So it's hard statistically. I'm not a huge stats guy. I think you either win or you lose. I think that's the most important stat you can look at. But yeah, I mean, you look at some of these stats. You look at the guy who's crowned the king. He definitely is in my football world is Brett Favre. And you look at Jordan Love, and you compare their second season as a Packers starter. Very, very, very similar in statistics, especially yards. Love actually had 86 more yards in his second season than Brett Favre. He had 6 more touchdowns than Favre. And
Let me guess. I am betting he had less interceptions.
Oh, by a lot. 13. Brett Favre threw 24 interceptions his second year in the league.
He's known as a gunslinger, right?
Oh, he was a gunslinger. And their ratings aren't even close, 80 to 96. So I'm not pushing the panic button on Love yet. I just think in this offseason when we break down his film session, it's like, but just run the football more. Right? When you have some open field in front of you, just take off and slide. I think that's what, for some reason, he just doesn't want to do that. And just extend, even a guy like a Tom Brady. Year. And he may have been, we don't know completely how much that was bugging him. But it just, man, you look at all of the guys at the top. I mean, even like a Burrow who was number 1 in yards and arguably in the MVP question, he at least still runs the ball when he needs to, and I think that goes a long ways.
No, I would agree, and I think that's part of where my disappointment would be is the fact he doesn't run the ball at the right time long enough. Enough. And I think that's what's hindering him, because I think when you have Willis comes in there, a couple times he had to come in for injuries. I think Willis extended plays just by his legs.
Oh, there ain't
and
no doubt.
and that was always the difference. Like, I'm not saying we overpaid him. I'm not saying we should play Malik Willis, but what I like about Willis is he just extends plays with his feet at the right time.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm asking for. Some of the quarterbacks run too many times, right? We're just looking for, like Jordan, when it makes sense, just run. And I'd love to see a few actual play calls that are more run-based for him, because I think his ability to extend the play, but also just to get first downs and just do different things with his feet is huge. And that it's a different dynamic than for the offense. So that's what disappoints me. Otherwise, I'm with you. You're always going to have it that we pay too much after the season. But, the thing is if we didn't and he had another season like he did last year, we're paying him more. Right. So at the end of the day, we got him. But now we got to just build around him. We did that with Josh Jacobs. I know you're big on saying, hey, we need a number one receiver. Let's go find a receiver. I think we have adequate receivers, but if we want to go spend some money and get a top tier one, let's go do it, or let's go draft one.
Right.
Let's make sure we continue to build around it, so we have, and then build to his strengths.
Right. And that was my next thing that I was going to bring up. I do think in Love's defense, which is a little bit against Darnold's defense, is the simple fact that we do not have a clear-cut number one. I mean, Dontavion Wicks, who knows what his future holds. Unfortunately, he had that concussion in that game, and that was not a severe hit. I don't think by the stretch of any means. He had the concussion helmet on as well to try to prevent that.
Romeo Doubs, you mean?
Oh, I'm sorry, Romeo Doubs. Romeo Doubs. So he's
thinking about his Vikings.
Yeah. So that with Doubs, he's up in there. Sorry, Dontavion Wicks. He's a good receiver, but he's definitely still a project in my opinion. They try to compare him to say he's got some of the same attributes of Adams, and I get that when Adams was young. But he's got a ways. He couldn't hold Adams' jockstrap right now, so he's got a ways to go. And they got Malik Heath. So, then we got Jaden Reed. I think Jaden Reed could compete. He's definitely a strong number 2 slot receiver. He could be eventually one of the better ones in the league, but he's just absolutely not there right now. So who he's throwing to is not a Justin Jefferson.
Well, let's
Addison.
talk about that.
So we can go down. But I will say I got to give kudos to Tucker Kraft. I think he's a dog, but.
All right, well, let's talk
about the other team that lost.
Yeah, let's talk about him. Let's talk a little bit about.
I'm about ready to come over there and give you a hug. Are you that down about your team?
No.
Oh, yeah, he is.
I quit watching in the second quarter. Jesus. You knew it right away. It's like, why even waste my time?
Well, I did watch the game.
Well,
and there's a lot of people. There was a guy losing his ever-living mind on K-Fan yesterday about how the Vikings would have won if that pass that they originally called a fumble, that was a scoop and score, if they'd have left that alone. Now, I think the game obviously, this is the obvious comment, obviously would have been closer, but the way Stafford was spinning the rock, and I mean, he still got sacked 9 times. Now, does that sway? Because I know that football is a game of momentum like all sports, but that was a beatdown. I mean, outside of that play. And to his defense, and another guy made a very good point. He's like, well, Patrick Mahomes makes those plays. I mean, he makes those underhand flips, and as he's going down. And when you watch that play, being an unbiased, just trying to be as unbiased as possible, he was trying to. That was supposed to be, as you watched that wide receiver, I can't remember exactly which one it was, if it was Cup
17,
or
the new guy. What's his name?
So it
was Nakua. He did. That was supposed to be a shovel pass. It was a shovel pass.
It was.
You could see him come across. He was supposed
but
to
he
get
never
lost.
turned around. That's what they were getting at, because he went to block.
Yeah, so he you could see Puka Nakua go like this, like he wanted it, and then realized that he was in trouble.
So
then he turned around to be like, oh shit, and then he just flipped the ball, but he didn't know that because his head was down. So yeah, it's a tough play, but at the end of the day, you can't say one play is going to win you or lose you the game. It's just
like New Orleans when Katrina hit. LA is going to win because the fires hit.
Yeah, there we go.
Rigged.
Yeah.
Right. Oh
Too bad the cold weather doesn't hit because like it does. But anyhow, so back to the Vikes. But that was you look again.
So back to the stats of Darnold.
Yeah,
just
Darnold.
like Love. I mean,
he was fifth overall in yards. He had 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. I mean, that is not. And again, leading your team to 14 wins that's a very good year.
Do you think they were quality wins? And I'm not trying to downplay it. Like all year long, I never got excited because I felt like their wins kept going up. But like you said, like when you have Mahomes going down the field, you have that killer instinct that they're going to win this game.
Yeah.
You know, the Vikings were going down the field. You didn't have this killer instinct. You're like, oh, they got lucky.
Well, because I feel like they did squeak out some games.
Yeah,
right?
I think it's like
that's
3 or 4 games they snuck out.
Yeah, but I think the one thing we got to look at is Darnold played really good in those games.
Yeah, but then somebody figured out how to play defense against.
But there was
him.
a lot of game-winning drives that he orchestrated, and I think you got to give credit where credit is due. And he did a really good job. Now, again, he was sacked the 5th most times with 48, tied right there with Burrow. That probably had some things in part of it. But I think at the end of the day, he played well.
Yeah.
And now, first time in the playoffs, everybody can say, well, the bright lights, but holy man. At the end of the day, the Detroit Lions had a game plan. So I don't know, sometimes the other team just schemes better.
Mm-hmm. I think LA just copied that game plan.
Yeah, and I would sit there and say, if you're going to just throw away the Sam Darnold season, then, and I know some people think this, then you better just throw away Kevin O'Connell because apparently he wasn't good.
Well,
then just go right down the line. Well, then what did Justin Jefferson do in those 2 games?
No,
nothing.
He got taken away completely by a guy that was pumping gas 3 weeks before that football game.
So that's my point. If you're going to throw what Darnold did this year away, start from the top and throw the coach away. Throw the top receiver, who everybody says is the best in the league, can't be stopped. Guy was pumping gas 3 weeks ago, stopped him.
Yeah.
Now, if he's that good, make enough plays that your quarterback finds you open. I mean, that's part of it.
Right.
I know, right, you're relying on the quarterback to throw the ball, but be that open. I don't know what to tell people. I mean, this is where I'm not sold like Jefferson's the best. It's just, I think, don't get me wrong, he's amazing. But at the end of the day, I mean, he is not, he's not doing Randy Moss used to do. Just unbelievable.
Yeah, and they like
unbelievable catches, but he's just getting open. Well, now when the game matters the most, he didn't do nothing for 2 games in a row. So that's where, I think people step back a little bit on that he's the greatest. But I just go back to, if you're saying Sam Darnold's season is worthless, he doesn't deserve it, well then what about Justin Jefferson?
Somebody will roll
when
with
the
him
game
next year.
comes tough. Where was he?
Well, I think Jefferson, I've always felt this way. Now, I do believe that Jair Alexander is a very, very good cornerback when the guy actually plays, which there's a big asterisk on that. But the one thing that Jair does, and what I believe that the Lions did, is I'm surprised that more people don't press Jefferson because he struggles in press coverage.
He's
big
small.
Time. I don't understand why people he's faster than shit, and that guy can cut on a dime. So it's like, why would you sit back 7 yards and let him get him full speed and allow him to cut? I don't get it. Just press him. No, I understand, but I'm not. No,
you're just
smarter
Gibby.
than I'm just Gibby. I understand that, but you look at press corners versus Jefferson, and they shut him down. I don't understand that. But let's look at this, because this is an interesting thing, right? We talk about, and your point, Moose, is very, very valid and a good one. Let's look at the opponents this year, because I want to take a look at the Packers played very similar teams, right?
They did.
And so did the Lions, which is going to get. And you look at these teams
Don't they play all the same teams?
Kind of, basically.
Let's look at. All right, so they beat the Giants, garbage. San Francisco. They
average.
They played them early on when they still had a lot of players, so they were a decent team. So I think they beat a decent 49ers team, 23-17. I get that. Houston, I think, obviously made the playoffs, but they smoked them 34-7. Houston started slow. There's a lot. We took it to Houston. So Green Bay, I think this year, because of the schedule, to answer your question, I think we were an above-average team. I really do. New York Jets, garbage. Giants Detroit lost. Rams lost. Colts, garbage. Jacksonville, garbage. Tennessee, garbage. Bears, garbage. Arizona, garbage. Falcons, garbage. Bears again, garbage. Seattle, above average team at best. And then us again, and then the Detroit Lions. So that was the schedule. Now here's the 2025, this is going to be an interesting year. The 2025 opponents for the Vikings, again, Bears, they'll be improved. They're still not going to be good. But you've got Detroit, healthy Detroit, right? Us, we're okay. I think we'll be better. Philadelphia, good. Washington, much improved. Baltimore, Cincinnati, Atlanta Falcons.
The NFC North plays the NFC
away games.
AFC East.
Yeah, away games. Again, Lions, obviously. Dallas, I think, is a better team than what they're putting on paper. They could be much better. Pittsburgh, okay, and then they have the Giants and Cleveland. So that's tough. I mean, if the Bears
they go
do
East
get
next year, there's a good team.
if the Bears get better, that's a very, very tough schedule.
Yeah.
And if we get better, that's a very, very tough schedule. I think the Cowboys will be much improved. Giants could be as well, but Pittsburgh's tough. I know.
If we get Andy Brinkman in here, I mean, that's 16 wins.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to get him in here. We talked about that.
That's kind of funny. All right. Well, that's enough of both our teams because at the end of the day,
they
yuck.
lost.
But hey, let's go over and talk.
Let's make a quick prediction.
Oh boy,
Quick prediction now. So we got some games coming up, some really good games this weekend.
Okay.
So
we're
if we're going to take
NFL?
a look. Yeah, let's take a look at some NFL stuff. All right, let's take a look. Washington and Detroit. What do you got there, Scrib?
Detroit.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you something. I think Washington's going to put up a fight, but Dan Campbell, a friend of the show. I just think the coaching. I think his coaching style and his leadership is showing. Like they're down guys, and they can still play.
And that team believes in him.
Yeah, they said because Dan Quinn's the coach of the Washington Commanders, like the punter miles will just stay home. They're going to go for it on every single one. These guys are just going to see who has a bigger set of nuts on them, and they're just going to just do it all. Quinn and Campbell, let's go, baby. So, no, that's a good one. I'm going to go with Detroit.
I love Dan Campbell when he said, it's not about – sometimes it's not about the numbers or the percentages of making it and not making it compared to punting and all that. He goes, it's getting your team conditioned for when they need that fourth down. Then you put them out there. They're not surprised and they're not like, okay, we're going for it on fourth down.
Right.
We've already done this 100 times this year.
Yeah.
So it's like we're just going to go do it. It's like a regular down for them.
Yeah. No, it's a good one.
Yeah, I'm Lions.
Okay. That's Moosey?
Yeah,
We got Lions too. All right, then we have. This is going to be a good game. L.A. and Philly.
Yeah, that one I don't know. I was not impressed with Philly. It's going to be tough to play in Philly for the Rams. I would like to take the Rams, and I think I could take them, and they'll cover the spread. To outright win, I'm not sure yet. Matt Stafford in the cold. I'll stick with the upset. I'll go with the Rams, but I'm not confident in it.
Oh, you're going to go with the Rams?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm actually also going to go with the Rams. And this is why. If their defense can play the way they played against the Vikings, now the Vikings' offensive line looked awful. But I don't think our defensive line is that bad, and we didn't even sniff Sam Darnold. So I just think that they're that good. I think they're young, they're talented, athletic, and can get after you. And I think they've got an attitude too. Like they were hitting. They were on Monday night against the Vikes. So I like that. Plus, I hate Philadelphia. I just cannot go for them.
Moose, what do you got?
So here we go.
L.A. Matt Stafford coming out of Detroit for years. He's played in the cold. He's used to it.
So
I'm
we're
not used to it. But here's my thing. I'm sticking to this script, and you guys can shake your heads at me. Wildfires in L.A., they'll at least make it to the division championship.
So you're talking Matt Stafford returns home for a playoff game. All
right. I mean, it's written, man.
Yeah.
It's written. It's just going to be beautiful.
That's what I mean. So that's why this is the NFL couldn't script it better.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, it probably is, but that's fine.
Yeah.
All right. We'll go with that. The Texans and the Chiefs.
Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Chiefs. I just
Texans just don't have it in them.
Yeah. And then the granddaddy of them all.
Yeah, this is a tough
probably
one.
The best game of the entire playoffs.
Because
no doubt about it.
Is it at Buffalo? Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. Not Jacksonville, Baltimore versus Buffalo.
It's going to be a showdown of two gunslingers, two Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
What's the over/under on this game? Do you guys know by any chance?
That's a good question.
I mean, you say these are two teams that know how to score points.
Or there ain't no doubt about
it.
And
they have decent defenses too. Don't get me wrong, but these two teams know how to score.
Well, the other thing I think it's going to settle all this argument out there.
Ravens are favored by 1. Over under is 51.5.
I was going to say, it's got to be 50.
Well, and here's the deal,
That's
too,
pretty
right?
high for an NFL game, isn't it?
I think if it's a great game, and the thing about it is it's the argument of the MVP. You know, it's always Allen, and how can you not give it to Lamar with the statistics that he has going on for this year? And I'm actually on the Lamar train on that. I think it's unbelievable what he's done. He's on it. But, again, who wins that game? You know, that could be a huge argument as to who should win the MVP, but I can't wait. It's going to be an awesome weekend of football. It always is this time of the year.
Oh, yeah.
So who are you going with?
I am going to go with Buffalo, though. I think I just might. Now I might say that might be a little bit more of a heart pick.
I was saying,
than
I'm going
anything.
to pick just because it's what's her McDermott, isn't that coach's name?
Yeah, well, and they're on
I just like him. I like Allen. I think I want to see him back in the Super Bowl so they don't go. I don't know if they can beat. You know, if I have Detroit going the whole way, if they could beat them. But I'm going with Buffalo just because I like.
I think Buffalo's going to win, but it's going to be a game.
Here's the deal: Buffalo has a home field advantage.
Oh, yeah.
There's no doubt.
I mean, and their stadium, the old Buffalo. I mean, then you got the Buffalo fans. I mean, they're not ruthless like Philadelphia, but they are homers.
Yeah, they'll be loud.
Yes,
and it won't be easy for them. Not that it ever is, but yeah. And there's times sometimes in the playoffs I feel like Lamar almost tries to do too much.
Yep. All right. That's it for the NFL. Let's jump over to the granddaddy of them all now.
Here we
College
go,
football
Monday.
playoffs finishing
there's
out.
Scribner's team right there.
I know.
Ohio
Notre Dame.
State.
Oh wait.
Yeah, here we go.
No. It's Ohio State right
Will you?
now.
Hey, here's my question: if Notre Dame wins on Monday,
He will wear gold.
you will be wearing a Notre Dame shirt for the next podcast.
Oh, really? I'd have to see who in the heck around here has one.
Oh, we'll get you one.
We'll find you one. I know Amazon has one.
Yeah, I know.
I'll buy that sucker.
Yeah,
I mean, if that's what makes you guys happy. Of course I will. But, yeah, you know where I'm going here.
A Notre Dame. Hey, we're going to put a Notre Dame tattoo on his cheek.
no, yeah. Well, he's going to wear it, and then he has
Like
to
the
sing.
cheerleader.
He has to sing the Notre Dame fight song.
we could. Yeah, I could probably find
I'm
that.
not singing any stupid Notre Dame.
What do you
fight.
mean? I think
You've
should,
been anti-Notre
I
Dame for 3 weeks now.
mean, Hey,
So, well, he was on Minnesota,
He
the
just-
Vikings for
he
2
just
weeks.
but
in a
it's
wanted
row.
to-
opposite.
he just wanted
it's
to-
opposite.
No,
I
it's
was
heart.
positive for a
It's
team.
not like
You've
you were
been completely negative.
Yeah, because you will never vote. You will never pick the Vikings to win because you hate the Vikings.
Well, I don't hate the Vikings.
Yeah, you straight up hate the Vikings. Okay, let's just be
Straight up
honest.
hates the Vikings, and I think he straight up hates Notre Dame.
I think so, and I don't just because they're not in a conference.
Well, the last time they got handed a national championship opportunity, how did that go for them? They got blown out.
Well, that was a while ago.
No, I mean that's just part of the why I've been against them because like they don't play the same level of competition. That's just life. You guys would all agree to that.
I do.
So part of it is like everybody can say, well, they like you said last night, they made it. Yeah. Well, what about all these teams that are having tough competition? Like if you're gonna say, is Notre Dame playing the same competition Alabama's playing?
Not in the regular season.
So correct. So if Alabama played Notre Dame's schedule, would they be 11-1?
Yep, I might get possibly.
Most likely, right?
Most likely.
I mean, they only had 3 losses this year, so most likely, right? That's my point. So again, Alabama would be right where they probably are, scheming to play 2 games to get into the net. That's my point. Like you play a conference in a tough conference like the Big Ten, the SEC, even the Big 12. I mean, Iowa State's a heck of a team. Like, what is Notre Dame's signature win before the playoffs? That's the big point. That's the point. Is it USC? I mean, I just want to. I mean,
Well,
hey,
Texas A&M ended up being decent, but
well, okay. Well, what's Alabama's or what's Ohio State's?
no, I get it.
I mean, think about the teams they beat. That's my point. So that's where I get frustrated is because every year they're always ranked in the top 5 or somewhere, and it's like, but they haven't played anybody. And everybody's no. USC is not the team they used to be,
No, I agree.
and that's not their fault. I get it, and that's why I've been like on Indiana and Penn State. I was fine with them making it because they played in a conference where, hey, just because they didn't play the top 2 teams, they still played in a conference. Mm-hmm. And you still have that conference rivalry stuff. And I think that's huge. I've always said that.
Well, statistically looking at some things, and I get that, Scrib. I get it. Rushing, you think we got to tip the hat a little bit towards Notre Dame. They're 22nd in the country. Ohio State's 112th. That actually surprised me a little bit. with that. But Jeremiah Love is a very, very good running back. The passing yards is tilted towards Ohio State. They're 38th. Riley Leonard and crew is 181st, which they're going to struggle there. So I think Will Howard is a very underrated quarterback. I think he's going to get drafted to a team that he'll do well eventually. But then when you look at wide receivers, I think that's where it really tilts heavily in favor of Ohio State. And I say that because Jeremiah Smith, I truly do believe he's averaging 16 yards a game. He's got 10 touchdowns. He's got 10 touchdowns here. 57. 57. Well, that's the rest of the nation trying to answer to Jeremiah Smith. And Collins on the side of Notre Dame is, he's their best with 2 touchdowns, 34 receptions. So I think right now I got to tilt it towards Ohio State. But I will say this, Notre Dame's hot. I mean, they've beat Penn State, Georgia, and Indiana. But again, then you got to turn around and say Ohio State beat Texas, Oregon, Tennessee. So it's tough right now. But I think I got to go Ohio State.
Yeah, I'm going Ohio State, but I think one thing people got to give credit to is Marcus Freeman. He's done a really nice job there.
Yeah, he does.
I think
he's
if there's
one
thing
coach
about Notre Dame I like is where he's been able to rebound after that first year, kind of that first bowl loss and the disappointment there. I do like his approach. But at the end of the day, you're talking about Notre Dame, you can say they're hot. Well, they beat Indiana where a lot of people didn't think they should be in there.
Yeah. But Indiana also, let's realize they've only lost to the 2 teams in the national title game.
I'm just making sure people remember that.
Yep.
They beat Georgia, and they did not play very well. Georgia didn't. And Notre Dame didn't. I mean, right? Their quarterback had 90 yards. They scored 17 points in 50 seconds. I'm not going to say luck because you got to do it.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, that was a very fortunate turn of events for Notre Dame. They don't do that. They very well could lose.
Yep.
Now, their best win in this whole thing, I would say, is against Penn State. They played Penn State pretty good. Really good game.
27-24 is a hell of a game.
Back and forth there, right? And Drew Aller doesn't throw that interception, which I don't know what the hell he's doing.
Right.
You could be talking an all Big Ten team, right? Championship. So I think right now Ohio State is playing on a level that we haven't seen in this college play. I mean, they are rolling through that thing right now. So it's going to be a really good game.
But I would say this, though. Texas had every chance to make that game. I mean, they were up by 7 on the first goal on the 1-foot line, and next thing you know, you blink. If you went to grab a soda or a beverage in the fridge, you came back, it was 28-14. Yeah. So that game was much, much closer than the 14 points that,
totally
that
agree.
Texas ended up losing by. But.
Totally agree. And Ohio State maybe stumbled in that game. So the one thing that I would say is, can Ryan Day get it back to the first 2 games? If he gets Ohio State back to where they were playing the first 2 games, Ohio State could run away with it.
Right.
The only reason why I say that is because of what Ohio State did against Oregon. I think Oregon coming in was a favorite by a lot of folks in the country, and what they did there was amazing. So if he can get back to that level, Notre Dame might not see what's coming for him.
Right. Yeah, well, we'll find out. So is it a clean sweep, Ohio State, then, in that game?
Yeah, I think so.
Uh-oh. If not, Notre Dame is wearing
your
Notre Dame shirt. And you were going to sing the fight song.
So you're going
gold helmets, everybody.
You're going Notre Dame.
Yeah.
It's all right.
I like Freeman. That's honestly
he's
that's
a dog.
That's just I like his organization of the program. I don't know. I just want to see him succeed in life.
Yeah.
How's that sound?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's great because that really shows. I mean, because I can see that out of you because that's kind of how I look at you. Is I like you. I want you to succeed in life.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks, little guy.
I'm just saying. All right, I think that's about a wrap.
All right, it is. Good one, boys.
I mean, we're going to anytime.
Lots of good games here coming up.
Anytime Moose picks the loser, because, last week he picked Minnesota, so now this week he's picking Notre Dame. So if you're a Notre Dame fan, I would be placing money on their side with the way Moose picks. Well, I'm just saying.
We all picked the same, basically, for
I clearly
NFL.
did not pick the Vikings last week.
This week.
I'm just telling you.
We all picked Buffalo. We all picked L.A.
Who picked the Vikings?
We all picked
last?
the Lions.
If you picked hey, shut up over there. If you picked the Vikings last week, raise your hand. Moose raised his hand, and also
I thought they would get by week 1, and they were going to get their butt kicked week 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they were going to beat LA. I knew it'd be tough, but
Clearly didn't. And oh, by the way, I also said I think it could be another early out at like 3/4 of the season through. I said that to a lot of Viking
I will have
fans.
to go back and see if that's true.
I was never on the Viking
This
train.
is why I took forever to jump on the train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you jumped on the train fast enough to jump off. So this was Moose. The Minnesota Vikings train is coming. Boom, boom. He's running. He's going to get on that goddamn train. He's going to get on it. And he
buddy?
jumped right where the trains come together, where they're connected. He went right through it.
Yeah?
That's how fast you jumped on and jumped off the fan bus.
And now I'm on the Notre Dame train, everybody.
All right, we'll end it. Who are you?
I'm Scrib.
And I'm Gib.
And we got Moose on the Notre Dame train.
Notre Dame train, not on the loose.